Good morning. Good morning, you guys, and welcome. Welcome to the Good News Sunday Show. My name is Sonia McCullough Lockridge, and I am your host. And I simply joy to come to you in this fashion. And I believe it is May 5th. May 5th, Sunday, May 5th. Next week, it will be Mother's Day weekend. So, in regards to what we are going to study next, what we are going to preach about next is we are going to be preaching and studying on the topic of Ezra and Nehemiah. Ezra and Nehemiah. Now, I have some of our study materials here. I'm just going to put these earrings on as I'm getting ready to go to church. I have some study materials here that I'm going to share with you prior to, and I've looked over them, I've read them, and this is not going to be our introduction, but this is going to be a semi-introduction, like an introduction in the tools that I am using to study this particular passage, because we are going to be in the book of Nehemiah and Ezra for quite some time. We're going to be in the book of Nehemiah, of Ezra and Nehemiah for quite some time. We also have a new subscriber, and I want to thank you for subscribing. It's my intention to go and to find out what your name is, and I have not done that, but I do thank you so much to our new subscriber. Now, we're going to look at the resources quickly, and then next week we will have an actual introduction to my thoughts and my way of presenting Ezra and Nehemiah to you. So, for one thing, we have this book by Eric Mason that's titled Nehemiah for You, and I have bookmarked some things that from his introduction that I would like to share. He says, there were several groups that departed from Persia and returned to Jerusalem to reestablish God's people in their own land. One was led by Ezra, another by Zerubbabel, and another by Nehemiah. Ezra was a scribe, so he helped with the re-educating Israel. Zerubbabel was a priest, and he reestablished the priesthood. And Nehemiah was the governor who helped with the social order. Each had their own place in God's plan. So that's what Eric Mason has to say about the book of Nehemiah. And as you notice, he did speak about Ezra. So this is one of our resources for study. Our next resource is Ezra and Nehemiah, a 12-week study by Kathleen B. Nielsen. Kathleen B. Nielsen. And what Kathleen has to say that I found interesting today was, we see the faithful hand of God mercifully preserving his people according to his promises. We also see the dire need for the perfect fulfillment of God's promises in salvation accomplished by his Son. And I would say accomplished by his one and only Son. And we have looked at the historical context of the book of Ezra in this ESV study Bible. We've not looked at the historical context of Nehemiah, but we have looked at that of Ezra. Wait, you know what? Actually, I think they present them. No, they present them separate. And so this is another one of our resources for this study. Ezra and Nehemiah. And typically I have some sweet name or some name that I've thought of for a study, but this time I don't have that. And hopefully and prayerfully, I will come up with something in the days ahead. And next, we have the NIV application commentary. This is my first purchase of a commentary, and I'm looking forward to seeing what all this commentary has to say about Ezra and Nehemiah. But I want to make sure that I read it through, that I read the Bible, the text first, before I delve into any of this commentary. And next, I have this Rainbow Study Bible, which I really like, and I've decided to peruse it all the time for matter, for context, and so forth, and what they say about the book of Ezra. This particular study guide, this particular Bible, gives us some keywords such that we can look for in the chapters of Ezra and Nehemiah. Return, rededicate from bondage. God's people are now ready to return to their land, their worship, and their God. They have to rededicate themselves to rebuilding all they have lost: the altar, the temple, and their faith in God and His Word. So this is another study resource I will be using for our time in Ezra and Nehemiah. And finally, this Baker Illustrated Study Bible is another tool I will be using for our time in Nehemiah. And yes, I did bookmark something there. What did I bookmark there? Oh, nothing really, except for I'll read this little bit. There are two central themes of Ezra: rebuilding the temple and reconstituting the people of God. Those are the two main themes in the book of Ezra. So, it is going to take us quite some time to dig through these books of Ezra and Nehemiah. I'm actually thinking it might take us the entire summer. 90 days, the entire summer. If we start next week, which is the 12th of May, and we spend some time in both Ezra and Nehemiah, it will definitely take us the bulk of the summer before we will conclude. So that is all I have for us today. This is the introduction, prior to the introduction, for the books of Ezra and Nehemiah, and our verse by verse study, or shall I say preaching. This is Sonia McCullough Locker signing out for the Good News Sunday Show, Keyword Bible Studies, the Gap Prayer Band, and a host of many other things. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you right here next week. Thank you.